from the MCPLive.tv studios, located in downtown Conroe, it's the Conroe Art League, live.
Hello and welcome to Cal Live, the show that introduces to you one by one the many talented artists of the Conroe Art League and to the beautiful art that they create. My name is Ken Roy. I'm your host today as well as the president of the Conroe Art League. And my guest today is Martha Ezell. Hello, Martha.
Hello. Good to be here.
It's good to see you more than once a month at typically the board meeting. So, now we've broken the record, I think. See each other twice a month, or we'll see at the next board meeting. Right. So thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
We're going to have a nice time talking about you and your art, and I hope some of your travels, because that always fascinates me. But would you tell us a little bit or a lot about yourself? Go back as far back as you want or not.
Well, I was born in Jacksonville, Texas, and raised there until I was, out of junior college, and then I moved to Dallas and lived there for a while. And I lived in D.C. for summer. Then I moved to Conroe. I got a degree at North Texas State University in education, a bachelor's, and I minored in art. I've always been interested in art ever since I was a kid. But in the 5th grade, I had a wonderful teacher, Mr. Spivey, who had pastels and paper, and I drew a nice little cabin in the woods, and everybody just loved it so much. And my dad made me wanted me to make another one for his friends, so I did that. Anyway, so I minored in art in college, and after college I taught 10 years in Garland Independent School District Elementary School, and art was a big part of every day because that was my favorite subject. And the kids seemed to love it so much. And after that, I just spent a decade doing that. I say I changed careers every decade. In the next decade, I was in the oil and gas industry doing administration and personnel stuff. And then I became knowledgeable in human resources information systems. And I worked in Central and Southwest Services in Dallas, which was a utility. And then when I moved, my husband and I met when his company bought my company, and he says I was thrown in as a part of the deal. So we married and lived in Dallas for 6 years, and then he got transferred to Houston, and so I moved down here. And at that time, I got a really good job for it was called AG Consulting, and I was a consultant for human resources information systems. And our big payroll system was ADP. So we went into all these large companies and got this payroll and HR system implemented so that it would work with each company. And some companies were large, like Southern Methodist University, Tyco, Aramark, City of Los Angeles, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Illinois Central Railroad. And I worked 100% travel, left every Sunday and came home every Thursday.
Oh boy, that must have been a grueling, or was it?
It was,
Maybe it was
wonderful. Getting to work around all those smart people was really, really nice.
I've learned 2 things about you. For some reason, I assumed you were from Kentucky. I don't know why I assumed that, but for the longest time I've been thinking, oh, you're from Kentucky. So when you were born in Jacksonville, Texas, I was, wait a minute, I thought she was from Kentucky, but no. And when I first met you, we talked about your job with ADP, right? Because I think you had told me you'd worked with that consulting firm. So the education piece, I don't know if I ever realized that. So that's what you did first, and then you went into business and you traveled. And what was your art doing at that time, or was it you doing anything?
Pretty much nothing. It just sat on the shelf for years. In fact, when I went to North Texas State University, minored in art, and I was around those other real artists, I realized
Don't say that.
I realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was. But anyway, time passed, and eventually I found Conroe Art League, and so I started up doing classes, and been doing art for about the last 11 or 12 years.
Now, did you always live in Conroe when you moved back or moved to this area?
We moved to Spring.
Right.
And then about 10 years ago, my fourth decade of career, I was a real estate agent. So I found us a house on Lake Conroe.
And I've seen that on Zoom calls. Yeah, so I was aware of that. Well, you've done quite a few things, Martha.
Yes.
Business and art and teaching and HR and benefits and real estate. But you're retired now. Would you say that?
I am retired.
But not really, because we keep you
Yes.
busy
Yes.
and working at the Conroe Art League. And we might just talk a little bit about that since I brought it up. You've been with the Art League now for
11 years.
So was it about the time the building was, that was a 10-year?
It was after the building.
It was after
Yeah.
the building. Good. And are you coming to the 10-year anniversary on Saturday?
Of course, I'm on the board. The whole board's going to be there.
We'll see you there, and to the audience, it probably won't show before then, but if it does, we're having a big celebration at the Conroe Art League to celebrate the 10 years that we've been in the building that the city so graciously donated to us. So what point did you get back to studying art? I mean, was it before, after, during the real estate career?
It was during.
During. So what was the motivation to say, I got to get back and do something?
Well, I have a neighbor, Ginger Matei.
Yes.
And we're walking buddies, and she kept saying, you need to come to Conroe Art League. And so I did. And then I got, I was pretty technical with my computer background, so they needed, Joyce Beckwith needed something done, some numbers typed into a spreadsheet. So I said, I'll do that. I love to do that. And then after that, it's just kind of all history. I became the membership chair, and I've been that ever since.
Yes. And before I leave my tenure as president, I'm going to make a motion to make you the permanent membership chair.
Oh, my.
So that'll be my legacy. No, just joking. But when you came back, did you studied at the Art League, or you simply became a member and picked up some of your skills and interests from before?
I became a member, and I took every class I could. I love to take classes.
Yeah.
I took
What was your first
watercolor.
one? Watercolor?
Watercolor and oil and drawing and mixed media.
And did you fixate on a particular subject, be it portrait, still life, landscape, animals, or did you have varied interest across the board?
I mostly do landscapes and animals, and a little bit of abstract, but that's usually just an accident. And all my paintings are inspired by my travel.
Yes.
I take pictures on my trips, and then I come home and I paint them. And I don't paint a whole lot, but and it takes me forever to get something done. But when I do, I usually like it.
Oh, you don't think you paint a whole lot? Because I see you as being somewhat productive, because you usually have something in the Art League, in the gallery. So, good. And there is one other thing I wanted to ask you about, because you're involved in that, of course, is the Lone Star Art Guild, or as we commonly refer to it, LSAG. It's always funny when people start hearing that term and they're new to the gallery or to the Art League. It's, what are you talking about? LSAG, yeah, Lone Star Art Guild. You've been involved in that for quite a while. And how did that start, if I could ask?
Well, that started with that same spreadsheet.
Oh.
It turns out that was a spreadsheet that LSAG gave to Joyce and asked her to fill in the winners for the latest show. And I looked at that spreadsheet and I said, I think we can automate that. And I did.
Yeah.
And so with LSAG, what I do is when we get a new member in Conroe Art League, we don't have an automatic interface, but we have a human interface, which is me, and I enter their information into the LSAG so they can participate in shows.
And for the audience members that don't know the background, the Conroe Art League is one of 16, I think, art leagues that belong to the Lone Star Art Guild. and it's written into our bylaws that we will be a member of LSAG, and we do at least one show a year, whether it's spring or a judge show, and certain winners in that show qualify to be in the Lone Star Art Guild convention show, which is kind of a big deal. Because
that's all the first, second, third place, and first honorable mention.
That's correct.
And the best of.
And the best of. And that brings in, I think we have a pretty large show, just our Art League.
We used to have about 300.
300. But now you get to the Lone Star Art Guild and the other art leagues are contributing. It becomes quite a show.
Yes.
The Art League, Lone Star Art Guild, LSAG went virtual, as we did, because of COVID, of course. And I see that they're going to have a meeting fairly soon in November. So I'll be curious to see what they're going to do with the next show come there. And you did something else with the Art League that was really monumental, and that would be the website.
Oh.
You had a key role in that website.
That website was a game changer.
Yes.
I used to keep everything on a spreadsheet, and it was
You're the queen of spreadsheets? Is
I'm
that
the
what?
spreadsheet queen. And so we had a president a few years ago who thought we should, he agreed with me that we should get something automated for membership. And so we looked around and we found wild apricot. And at first I thought we would just be putting membership on there, but it turns out that system does everything. We keep all of our events on there, all of our training classes and our workshops, our calendar, our docent calendar, and everything that's going on, our workshops. It is so robust, it's just incredible.
And you were key when it was settled on that we would use the Wild Apricot platform.
Absolutely.
I think you were key to the interaction with that staff to make sure that it met our needs, did what we needed it to do, and educated you, and you educated us about all the things that we can do. And it has been a game changer since so many things have become automatic, like registration, because we sometimes laugh about that. Previously to this, be 30 people in the gallery at one time, going from one table to the other. Still some people, but we've, I say we, somebody else has got that process down. Okay, would you want to look at some of your art at this point? So if we could bring up the first piece, and if I could, I'll tell you what I think about it. And I love it, and I like the scooter up front. So maybe that tells me that was maybe Europe. So you'll tell me if I'm wrong. But and what I like about it, Martha, is the red just kind of continuing through, and that large band of red, and you got that horizontal for the awning and the horizontal for the scooter, and then that nice diagonal with the red on the umbrella, and then the other umbrella going straight up. I don't know if, I hope you planned it that way, but to me it's a nice circle just going around to the scooter, up back to the banner, and back down the umbrella. But would you tell us the title, the medium, the inspiration of that piece, and where was it?
Sure. That was a photograph I took in Paris. It was a cafe. I have a fondness of cafes that have a lot of red in them.
So that was, you sought that one out, or when you saw it.
I have a lot of photos that are kind of like that. They're just waiting for me to paint them.
So when you saw a red cafe, you said to yourself,
in a red moped.
In a red moped.
And I was trying to pay attention to the design, which doesn't come natural for me. But, you know, like you said, the leading the eye around in the picture so that you don't leave it. And that's actually a pretty large picture.
How big is it?
It's a half sheet, so it's about 20 by 30.
And
a
half sheet of watercolor paper?
Half of a big sheet. And it's actually at the framer right now, so I'll be showing it pretty soon.
Really? Well, I can't wait to see it inside the gallery. That'll look really nice, particularly if it's a larger piece. So we don't quite get that size effect here, but we'll see it in the gallery. Well, I think you did a beautiful job, and it is watercolor, you said.
It is watercolor.
And how do you work in watercolor, or is there one way or many different ways? Do you approach it wet and wet, wet on dry?
I do mostly wet on wet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some very good instructors, and so I try to get the darks in there first, so I know where I am, and then I try to do layers, and I do and redo a lot until I get it the way I like it.
Do you have some names handy of some of the instructors that you've taken classes with?
The most recent was the Watercolor Live, and there were about 20 different instructors from all over the world.
What's that about?
It's put on by Streamline Publishing, and they get these artists who are very well known, like Joseph's a book
If you can say it, my hat's off to you. I stumble over that one, but I know exactly. He's an Australian watercolorist, yeah, quite famous, I think, in the watercolor world.
And several others. I can't recall the names right now.
So it's on your computer, and it's so they're showing you live, or is it?
It's a 90. Each artist does a 90-minute session, so they have to work real hard to get a big painting and all the key points in 90 minutes.
Are you painting along at this point,
You
or
can.
simply watching?
You can paint along, or you can just take notes. I can't ever keep up, so I start out trying to paint along, and then you can rewatch it for so many days, depending on which ticket you buy.
Well, that was going to be another reason to say hats off to you, because I don't think I could watch what they're doing, listen to what they're saying, and doing my composition and trying to mix the paint. And here's a watercolorist question for you. Do you mix on the palette, or do you mix on the paper?
I mix on the palette, but really, truthfully, I just like to buy all the colors.
Yes.
I don't really like to mix paint.
I think I'm with you. I think that's called convenience paints. And I don't know about you, but I struggle for some time to mix greens, and then find the convenience colors. This is nice.
Yeah.
Just go right to it. And I don't know if it happens to you, because I'm busy mixing, and then it dries, and then I've lost that.
Then you've got an edge, and then you've got a bloom. And
But you got a bloom. And that's another good question. Are you a fan of blooms or not a fan of them?
well, some teachers love blooms.
That's right.
Like Catherine Marks always worked in blooms.
She's exactly who I had in mind.
But most teachers do not want blooms, and they have you watch it so it doesn't. But the blooms sneak up on you.
They do. They do. And I'm trying to train myself to accept them, because I'm with you. When I first started, it drove me crazy to have that bloom. And it's because I wasn't planning that. But slowly, I guess I have to accept it, because you got to make mistakes in watercolor that you can't correct. That sounds interesting that you had that show to watch. And will they be redoing that again? Is that once a year?
I'm getting ready to sign up for next year.
Okay.
It'll
Very
be
good.
4 days, so
Okay.
it's intensive.
Intensive. Very good. Can we look at the next one?
Sure.
This is, I remember, you've shown these in the gallery, and I remember seeing it, and it is great. I mean, how can you hide the eyes of an animal, yet the personality still comes through? So that's what struck me first, and I like the nice contrast on each one, that dark, and you said you were dark first. So the dark, and then going out with the color, and then the complementary. I guess it's safe to say the complementary of the green in the back, because you got a lot of red, particularly in the one as we look at it to the right. So tell us about that one, Martha.
Well, we were in Scotland, and we were driving up to a castle where we were going to stay for a couple of nights, and that's the picture you're going to see next. And we came across this gate, and here were all these big red hairy cows, and it was just incredible. They were just standing right there looking at us. So I took a picture of that one on the left. The sun was just right, and I caught him in the shadow.
Ah, yes.
And then the one on the right, we found him out in the field later, just when we were walking around.
Mm-hmm.
So I just liked them so much, I decided to paint them.
For sure.
It's both acrylic.
Do you know the names of those animals by any chance?
Well, in Australia, they call them, Scotland, they call them hairy coos.
Hairy coos?
Instead of hairy cows, they call them hairy coos.
I wasn't following you
And
on
they're
that
actually
one.
Highland cattle.
Is that right?
They're just fascinating.
See, for some reason I associate that with maybe an animal in the east, the Far East, but I want to say a yak, but maybe that's not a yak. I'm
No,
not
it's
sure.
a cow.
It's a cow. Yeah, it's a hairy coo.
Hairy
I
coo.
got to remember that name. And that was does it have a name? Or did you say the name?
I think one of them was hairy coo, and probably hairy coo 1 and hairy coo 2, I think.
And that was watercolor also.
Those are acrylic.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, if we're good, we'll move to the next one. And for me, this one is really the just leading into the picture plane. From it almost looks like you're at a high vantage point, looking down on the castle, and all that green going this way. Then it looks like it goes that way when it gets to the castle, and then of course the landscape disappears in the atmospheric perspective in the back with the blue. So would you tell us the name of that one and the medium that you used?
This one's called the Glen Gorm. It was the Glen Gorm Castle, and it's also a bed and breakfast in Scotland on the Isle of Skye.
Mm-hmm.
And they have 6 rooms in the castle, and my sister and her husband and my husband and me had 2 of the rooms, and they don't even have keys. When you're in the room, you can lock the door, but when you're out of the room, you don't lock it. And you can go down to the library, which was a huge library,
Mm-hmm.
and they had every kind of Scotch there is, free, anytime you wanted it. Yeah, you just go help yourself.
That sounds
I
dangerous.
tried a few.
And of course, it would be single malts and not blended,
Oh,
or would
yeah.
there be some blended?
No,
there?
totally.
Totally
Oh,
single.
yeah.
And do you have a favorite Scotch?
Well, I like Oban pretty well.
Yes, I know it. Yeah, it is very good.
Glen
Yeah.
Grand
Glenmorangie.
Morangi.
Yeah, yeah.
Glen Morangi.
Macallan, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's one that has a real smoky taste, which I can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with an L, but I can't think of it. So that sounds like a almost perfect vacation. Are you Scotch?
No, we just took we were going on a cruise
Mm-hmm.
out of London,
Mm-hmm.
and so we decided to go a couple weeks early
Mhm.
and drive all the way up through Scotland and back down, and then catch the cruise.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a
Very nice.
pretty intense driving trip
Yeah.
on the wrong side of the road.
So make sure I understand. You started in Europe and went
Started
across the
in,
channel, or you
we
went right?
started in Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
We flew into London, got 2 cars,
Mm-hmm.
and then we drove. And we would meet at the same place each night, and stay and eat dinner together and stuff. And then we came back to Southampton, where we left on our cruise to the Norwegian fjords.
Yes.
That was pretty fascinating too.
And I'd like to talk about your travels, because I know you go to the Far East.
No, I haven't been
You
to
haven't
the
been
Far
there?
East. No.
I thought you went
I'm
there
a
one time.
Europe.
Was that canceled? No?
Well,
you've
I
been to
was going to go to
Australia, right?
China, and the timing was just totally awful.
I think that's what I was thinking.
Canceled it, yeah.
Yeah, so that was canceled. But you've been to Australia?
Australia, New Zealand, Italy,
Yeah.
Spain, London, England.
And do you just pick your own itinerary, or
Yes.
you typically you don't?
We
not
don't
getting with a
tour.
group?
Well, we go on cruises,
Mhm.
and then when we go to a port, we get a cruise tour. Because if you go out on your own and you don't make it back to the ship in time, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Yeah, yeah. And I know, and maybe you can just tell us about this painting, but I recall, it's not up, but maybe two guests came to the gallery, and they were from, maybe there were three of them from somewhere. And Deborah Riley was in the gallery, and they found one of your paintings. And
A big tree with blue bonnets.
yes,
under it.
a nice Texas scene. They weren't from Texas, or were they from
California.
Texas? They were from California. And they came in and what?
Well, they wanted a blue bonnet picture, and my picture wasn't actually there at the time. I'd shown it the month before.
Oh, is that right?
And there was no blue bonnet pictures. And Deborah thought of mine and gave me a call, and I went and showed it to them, and they wanted it. So
And they got it.
yeah, it really wasn't for sale, but
Right.
they made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
I won't say the offer, but I wouldn't have refused it either.
It was really nice.
I remember that paint. I thought it was quite large. It was nice. The tree.
It was 16 by 20.
Is that it? Boy, it looked large with the tree. I guess the tree spreading out and then the blue bonnets below. So that was very good. What is on your plate now? Maybe you're going to do the Streamline online event. You got any classes lined up? Any particular works that you're working on now that we'll see?
I'm getting ready. I've started on I'm sure everybody's seen this mill in Colorado. It's the Crystal Mill. And it's the one that's set on a big rock with a river running through it and all these trees around it. And we got there last month, and all the aspens were in bloom. And the mill was, the sun came out just at the right time and shined on the mill, and it was just fabulous. So I'm painting that right now.
Which one last thing about the travel, because I know I'm fascinated by this too. You pack up the mountain buggy, the dune buggy. What is that called?
Well, we Jeep. We go
Jeep,
off road
yeah.
in the Jeep, and we have ATVs.
Yeah.
But to Colorado, we just took our e-bikes. It's a little
And it
easier.
was smart.
Yeah.
To go up the mountain on the e-bike.
But we do a lot of rock crawling in our Jeep.
That's what the word
Yeah.
you've used before. I've seen some of those where you're
Over in
like
Llano,
this.
it's pretty granity and
yeah.
huge hills.
If someone were to look for your art, obviously the Conroe Art League, the featured artist page, are you
Yes.
on there?
Yes, I am, and I made sure it was up to date last night.
Okay. Do you have different albums or just
I
separate?
have 2 albums. I have one that's got my 5 favorites, and then another one that's got everything else. And
Very good.
some of my paintings were done in class, and if you do them in class from another picture, you can't show them.
True. Yeah.
So I've got some of those, and I've got a lot of originals.
Do you have anything showing this month for the November show?
No, I couldn't get anything done.
Boy, this was the opportunity. We have a pretty full show because of the 10th year anniversary, and we sent out a lot of invitations, so we're hoping for a big crowd, but maybe
darn
next
it.
time. Maybe on the 20th anniversary. For that one. So very good. To see Martha's art, as well as the art of the other artists in the Conroe Art League, please visit us at the Best Little Art Gallery in historic downtown Conroe. We're located at 127 Simonton Street. We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So please join us there where we live our creed to create, appreciate, and learn. Thank you.